I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Welcome to this July 17th Board of Commissioners meeting. First item is public comment for anyone that's not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll get right to it. We have Tracy Baber with the sale of the skating rink. Good morning, Tracy. Could you go to the podium, please?
Sure. Okay, so, hi.
Hey.
I guess when I bought the land, the building was not added, so it's not recorded correctly. I was just discussing that with her, so.
Okay.
In order for me, for the sale, the title company went to do the title search, and it's kind of a mess, isn't it?
Oh, I really can't speak on that. I really, I just know there are a lot of things that aren't recorded, and so I did get a hold of Tracy, and because the title company was here for 2 to 4 days looking for things.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, she gave them what she had, and that was very helpful.
And I think the outside of that, I don't know that we have much involvement in the recording and the getting that correct. It was more of we have the first right of refusal.
Yes, and
so
that too as well.
So I guess we need to know what the offer is that we would potentially be refusing. And then also, the other thing I would like to convey is that first right of refusal stays with the land. So whoever buys it needs to understand that if they would sell it in the future, they would then have to come.
Right, I
ask
think
that.
they just asked for it to be removed, and so.
So it won't be removed, I guess. It'll stay with the
Right,
land. So they
right,
need
okay.
to hopefully understand that.
Yes, and then, so, I had to tell you today.
Well,
How
you don't have
much?
to tell us today. If you want an answer today.
I mean, I didn't know if you wanted it, like,
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, we'll have to do it publicly, right, Tom? Yeah, so,
It's 250,000.
okay. I don't think we have any interest in purchasing it, so, I guess
I just need signed off on that for the title company.
okay. So it'll be.
We would only have right of first refusal on the land, correct?
Correct.
Which would not be that much.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that.
Yeah, that's for the
That's-
facility and the land.
The
Yeah,
facility
the whole.
and the land,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. We just have it on the
On the land.
parcel.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the building. So.
So, I guess what I was getting at, it's not like we're not losing a bunch of money because it's being sold again for more than what we sold it for.
No.
Yeah.
And I assume that
Right.
they're investing in the skating rink
Yes.
to
Awesome.
upgrade it and,
Yes,
Put
it's
more life
a
into it.
Monterey skate company
okay.
out of California, actually.
I'm just going through my brain here. We kind of went through this before. Wasn't there another company that they
It
fell
didn't go
through?
through.
Okay.
It was
all right,
not good.
Okay, all right. Because I remember that
That's
gentleman
another
coming
whole
here.
long story.
No, that's
You got
okay.
time.
No.
That's okay.
No, we don't. So.
All right, I'll make a motion, we exercise our right to refuse to buy.
I will second. So that'll be recorded in our minutes. We can pass that along to them, but just make sure they understand that stays with the land
will.
portion of it.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, thank you.
Okay, next up is Laura Archibald with I guess an announcement that's kind of already been announced a little bit, but also the opioid match grant and the request for the unrestricted funds. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so we have good news. It was told to us to keep it quiet, so we did, and then it got announced, so it's okay. There was a request for funding that we submitted on behalf of the city and the county, and we submitted it on behalf of We Care 180 and the Trinity Hope Center. We did receive partial funding, but we did get an award for partial funding in the amount of $452,000 to expand 180 recovery residents by 16 beds, so it'll end up being a total of 32 beds, so doubling its capacity. Part of that and the back and forth was requesting a $20,000 non-restricted fund match from the county, which I requested from the council last week, and they're working on that side of things. It actually ended up working even more to our advantage because that was actually for a $440,000 match, but then back and forth with the negotiations and the contract. When we got it back, it ended up at $452,000, so I wasn't going to complain about that. Stretched our dollars even farther, so for that $20,000, it got us $452,000 for us to use on recovery residences in Clinton County. So we're really excited about that. We should have that contract. I really thought we'd have it at the end of last week, but we should definitely have it this week. So
Okay.
I think as soon as we have that and we sign the paperwork, then we should get our stuff in for permits, and I really think we'll be breaking ground within probably 45 days.
Good.
So I'm excited about that. Do you have any questions?
No.
No.
It's really been a good opportunity. It's one of those things we talked about when we talked about those opioid settlement dollars and being able, because we did a good job as a county and city of managing those funds, and we talked about being a drug-free community and how we'd be able to apply for more funds. This is exactly what I was talking about when we were talking about those funds and being able to use those funds as matching, and this is exactly what we had hoped would happen. And so there's a new request for funds out, and Carol and I talked to We Care last week, and they are putting in an application for additional dollars. So we're hoping that they can get some of those dollars as well. So
I just appreciate your vision and foresight and the group working together to do this and have an impact on our community. So hopefully it'll go a long way, which, I mean, that's, whatever, 8X basically, or a little more than that, for those dollars. So that's fantastic.
thank you. And there's additional funding coming this fall. I'm aware of. I talked to Doug Hunsinger last week. There's another opportunity coming this fall that we just found out about that we'll apply for as well. So
Okay. So I guess for Josh and I'll entertain a motion to release 20,000 of our unrestricted funds to do the opioid match.
So moved.
All right, second. Motion carries 2-0. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Laura.
Nice work. All.
Okay, next up is Dale Davis with Envoy, and what has been an accumulation of a lot of time and work is the GMP for the Annex project. Good morning, Dale.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, this is a culmination of, about 17 months worth of design and effort, and honestly, it's culminated in a great project. As you know, when we started this process, the Regions Bank building across the street had been purchased by the county to be the new annex. As we started diving into that building and kind of peeling away the layers of the onion, it became apparent that there was a lot of work to do on that building to bring it up to the standard of a new office building. And in doing so, we came to the realization that we were only about 20% away from the cost of just raising the building and putting a new one in its place. And in doing, and we hadn't even opened the walls yet. So that 20% could have been eaten up as soon as we started opening those walls and trying to reconfigure the building. And as we did that, we realized, well, we could fit the entire program into 2 floors. You could have a 3rd floor shell space. You could have even more space for the community, more space for growth. So we went down that road, and we're still going down that road because the other half of the project is this courthouse, which I'll be back in probably September to talk about. But it's been a great design process. Our partners at Amoresco and RQAW have really helped help guide us through. And today I'm here to present to you a GMP report, and that stands for Guaranteed Maximum Price. So as a developer, that means if costs come in high, that's our problem. That's not your problem. Now, if there's a change in scope, well, that's when we would ask for additional funds.
Right.
But as long as there's no changes in scope, the risk is ours. So this report details really the top level costs that we're going to incur in this project. And I want to highlight some of them. We are looking at a 13-month build from start date. So we're looking at starting in mid to late August. So, Commissioner Brewer, the top sheet, the cost summary, Exhibit B, that's very similar to what you've seen before. We did change it so that the remaining balance, the $58,000, became the owner's construction allowance. So that's owner's directed, that's your money to spend. When you see allowance in here, that means it's money that if we don't spend it, it's yours. It's your money to spend. Now, you'll notice that those allowances fall into two categories, and those are envoy controlled and county controlled. The short of that means with the owner controlled, you come to us and ask a question. The envoy controlled, we come to you and ask a question. We're not acting alone, you're not acting alone, we're working together. But that's really the difference. The envoy controlled are things we know we have to do, they're in our court, we're going to take care of them. But they are an allowance. If we don't spend it all, it comes back. Now, with the owner's construction allowance, that is going to grow. When we presented this report initially, when it was just the top line budget, so the building's going to be four-sided brick. Over Arnie's, it's a fairly complicated structural system because we don't want to do anything to the Arnie's building next door. That being said, our building's going to be, Arnie's is only about 8 feet down. Our building, floor to floor, is 14 feet, which means we're going to be somewhere around 20, 22 feet down. So we have to be very careful to not do anything to damage Arnie's foundations. We've been very careful with the demolition. The other part is going back carefully. So our foundations are actually going to be 10 feet away from Arnie's, and we're going to cantilever the building over. I say all this because that means weight is a big issue for us. We have to be careful with it because more weight means more steel means more cost. It's not something we can't, we can always bear it, but we also don't want to needlessly spend money. Mm-hmm. So the cost to bear full dimensional brick on that wall was getting to be quite expensive. We found an alternative product. It is a masonry product. It's just very lightweight and much easier to install. So we are pursuing costs on that. It will be less expensive than what we've proposed. That'll be a minimum savings of about $50,000. I would expect it to be more than that, but I'm going to be conservative in the number that I say today because we don't have pricing back on it yet. Now there's other allowances in here, IT equipment purchase. We want to be very transparent with this project and very, make sure that we're recognizing the debt limits that we have imposed because of the way this project was offered. So knowing that, we cannot go over the bond limit for all the project costs, I want to make sure everything's outlined here. So we've even outlined IT purchases. So the servers, the switches, all that. Everything that makes us a turnkey building. We have an allowance for signage. We have an allowance for earth retention. We'll likely not need that. I'm not going to say no yet, but things are looking good that we won't. And furniture and equipment. We'll also spec that along the way.
Dale, before we move forward, let's go back real quick.
Sure.
How much gap will be between our wall and Arnie's wall?
Just a few inches.
Okay.
So we will, seal that, we'll put an expansion joint in there, so nothing's gonna be getting down in between the buildings. As part of the demo, we also took off the third and, really there was a fourth floor part of that wall too that we didn't talk about too much, but there's our building and Arnie's building share a masonry wall. And back when these buildings were built in the early 1900s, the common way to do this construction was 3 width of brick down to a footer to take the weight. Our building's gonna be far too heavy to reuse this wall. We're steel, we're free span, it's just gonna be too much for it. We also can't leave an unsupported brick wall hanging over Arnie's. So, in the spirit of the party wall agreement, we worked with Arnie's to take that extra height off, so that now it's an appropriate height for Arnie's. We'll cap that wall. We've got some masonry repair in the budget to make sure that that wall is done right. And we're gonna seal the gap between the two buildings, so no water infiltration or anything gets down in it.
And then that wall is the one that we would use the alternative
Correct.
drive it.
Yeah, it's a drive-it product.
And
I think they call it
it'll-
new brick.
Yeah, so it'll be on the east wall that he was talking about, not using as much steel and the brick for that wall, correct?
So
Yes.
it'll never be seen?
You'll see it, but it's up over Arnie's, so,
Is it structural?
sorry?
Is it a structural component of the building, or is it just merely?
No, no. The structure of the building's entirely, steel,
It's the cosmetic portion.
so
So,
the brick,
would
all
that-
the brick on this building is merely a veneer.
right, okay, I guess what I was getting at is, will it be that material all the way to the ground? Or will it
No.
only be above
It's
what's
only
visible?
from Arnie's, top of Arnie's wall there to the top of our wall. So it's about in the front, it's less than a story because Arnie's is so tall in the front. In the back, it's about a story and a half, kind of steps down as we go. Arnie's roof slopes directly down to the back, kind of steep. So by the time you get to the back of the building, it's about a story and a half down.
Okay,
Sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify
absolutely.
that for everyone, because obviously, we've had many
Yeah.
discussions about
Yeah.
that, and to kind of get them up to speed
Yeah.
on that gap on that wall and how that
Yeah,
all was
the-
gonna lay out.
Integrating ourselves with Arnie's has been a challenge, and our structural engineers at JPS have been quite helpful in navigating those waters. There was a lot that went into that. We have to leave the old basement walls intact. We have to shore them. We have to make sure that we do not backfill next to Arnie's basement, because that wall was never made to support a lateral load. So we have to create our foundation in a way that we avoid it. We have piers all around the perimeter. Our basement is actually going to be in the middle of the site. That way we didn't have to excavate the sidewalks and the roads and the utilities to step everything back to make a full basement. And we were very purposeful and cognizant of cost in doing this. This was the best way to get us a basement without really getting into all of our neighbors. So all of our neighbors, meaning also the streets and
Yeah.
the utilities. We will have to replace the sidewalks around the building, the curbs around the building. We'll probably have to, we'll see what condition the asphalt's in at the end, but if that needs addressed, we will.
Okay.
Just with running the heavy equipment over it, there's not much way to protect that concrete work from getting damaged over the duration of this project. So the next part is development contingency. Once we get the foundations in, our risk goes down quite a bit. That's the most complicated part of this job. I mean, we're essentially building piers down to the earth, and we're building beams all around to take the weight of this building. It's the most complicated part. But any unforeseen, as I said, as a developer, we're taking the risk. So that's our contingency. There were some alternatives that were selected. We were fortunate enough to have it in the budget to include everything that was asked for. We have the county's IT professional had asked us to include an upgrade from Category 6 cabling to Category 6A, which is kind of the newest in the standard. We were able to include that. We were able to include secondary data jacks in the offices to give some flexibility on where the desks are placed. And also, I mentioned this courthouse before. There's going to be a lot of historic preservation work happening on the courthouse after this project. And the question becomes, where does everybody work? We have the unfinished third floor of the annex, be a perfect place. So this covers the structural build out of that space. So we needed to add air handlers because with the shell space, we essentially our HVAC equipment, our plumbing, everything has the capacity to take that third floor. That's the way it's been designed. But it was designed as two big open spaces. So this covers building some additional walls, putting in some additional zones on the HVAC equipment. It covers those structural costs. Now, any costs for the temporary court relocation, we'll talk about that with the court project. But we wanted to be very clear, very transparent that the actual structure of the building is included in this cost.
Let me elaborate a little bit, Dale, for context for everyone. They're based on, either way, we were going to have to move the courts, prosecutor, and clerk out of the courthouse to some off-site location to do the renovation. It was just going to be unfeasible to have court hearings while they were doing construction. And so whether we tried to rent a facility that then we had to pump money into to kind of accommodate those, in particular the courts and the security issues, or take a blank space that we had available at the annex and build it out to fit their needs the best we could. Those were kind of the two options. In deciding to go do the third floor, it was going to save close to $500,000 versus trying to rent a facility and do all the upgrades that it would need. But one thing that we learned during this process is that from some of the legal structure of it, we had to include $269,000 in the annex project that is just for the temporary build out. And so it was just based on how the legal worked. It couldn't go with the courthouse. It had to technically go with the annex. So when we get to the end number, that's one of those numbers that's kind of an additional piece that I would consider a savings from what the project originally cost, but we had to add it to it based on the advice from legal. So
Absolutely, and thank you for that clarification. The other important part is you get to keep all of your investment here.
yeah,
Because all that HVAC upgrade, all the lighting we're gonna have to do, everything, at the end of the
Stays.
project, it's yours.
yeah,
The only thing that is a cost that would be harder to recoup is, temporary cubicles or anything like that, but even those can be resold. So we'll cross that bridge with the courthouse project, but this is the most economical way to go for sure, and you don't have to pay yourself rent.
yeah.
So, as I mentioned before, we're on, if you look at our schedule, it's 15-month schedule. I say 13 months because that's how long it's going to take us to build it. We've already been working for about 2 months out there to demo the existing building. So that's the difference if you look at our kind of two scheduling languages there. And the rest of this, it just categorizes and catalogs the drawings, the specifications that this price has been set to, and that's the latest set of drawings from our QAW. So with that, this $17,750,000 guaranteed maximum price report provides the 42,000 square foot annex and resurfacing of the parking lot behind. It covers all the demolition to date that is in here. I mean, we did pay for it in advance, but that credit is here. We're not hitting that number twice. This is the all-in number, and we're excited to get started, and we're happy to have worked with y'all.
Okay, thank you, Dale. I don't know if Commissioner Ewitz has any questions, but I know we have some counselors here, so I'll at least give you an opportunity if you'd like to ask anything of Dale before he sits back down. Questions? Okay, then I will highlight, I guess I just want to summarize basically what you said there. So there was the 269,000 that I mentioned that had to be added to this budget, as well as roughly 205 of IT that originally was going to be in the 2024 general budget that we were able to put into this as well. So with that plus the owner's contingency that's in there currently of the 58,000, that's roughly about 532,000 less than the bond capacity that we started out with as our number we were targeting. So we were able to come in under, just doesn't look like that from here because we added a couple things to use that capacity that was available. So I assume you need us to take a motion to accept this GMP.
Correct.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, I'll entertain that motion. Commissioner Ewitz, are you willing to make that?
I guess, yeah. I'll make a motion to accept the GMP report.
Okay, motion carries 2-0 to accept the proposed GMP. Thank you, Dale. Okay, Carol.
I would just say something, I just like to say how much I appreciate all the valuable professional wisdom of Envoy and all the people that are working on this project to take such good care of our downtown during demolition, as well as all the thought that's been going into taking care of armies and the sidewalks and the streets and all those kinds of things. And I appreciate how much time you, Jordan, and Helen have spent on this project. Council and the commissioners.
Thank you for saying that. I should thank Dale and the Envoy team for all their work. It has, we've definitely had challenges, but we've been able to work through those, and it's, for everyone, it's been a constant for 6 or 8 months. Every Thursday, we have a call to get updates and go back and forth on these and have discussion. And so to say it was been constantly smooth sailing, it hasn't, but they've been the utmost professionals in handling it and getting things accomplished that we needed done. So thank you for that.
By the time I get my reports, it looks easy.
Okay, next up, we'll get back to our local updates. We have Liz Stitzel with an area plan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have one item, which I have printed off. We've got a mowing complaint in agricultural ground. This one is up by Edna Mills, and it's a little bit different than some of the others, but since we have a complaint, we said we would bring it to you. So, this is the parcel. It's actually a farm field, and the complaint is about vegetation along the edge of the field right here. The line to residential zoning is over here. So this land here is zoned residentially, but these parcels and this field are zoned agriculturally. There is not a house on that field. And my understanding from Kat is it's.
We're talking about this right here?
That's my understanding.
Is it
Yeah.
trees?
Apparently there's tall grass in there too. There's a fence line there through
Yeah.
part of it. If I
Sure.
recollect, I haven't been out there in a few years, but,
It may
So,
not be.
so this, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So this, I'm assuming this is a complainant? This parcel?
this is the parcel being complained against.
These people are complaining?
I
That,
think the complainant probably lives over here, but I don't know for sure. Since we take anonymous complaints, I don't have the exact location or name.
I hate anonymous complaints.
Some days.
If you're gonna complain, own it.
I guess my concern would be that could be a CRP buffer. There's a lot of different agricultural things that it could be that restrict it being mowed until after August 1st. So I don't know. It seems like it kind of is outside of what we typically.
Yeah.
I also, I will say, I worry a bit if we start mowing fence lines and side ditches and farm fields, where do we
Yeah, I'll just let all mine
stop?
grow if
I
you're
mean,
gonna do it.
Well, that's what I was
You know.
getting at. I mean,
I mean, the
usually,
point of the mowing
anything that's
ordinance
hanging
was to
over,
mow
you can cut it
things,
right. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
so,
the point was to mow things that are near homes or houses.
Yeah.
You know, when that ordinance was adopted. Granted, Bert's not here to speak for, he was a commissioner back at that point. But,
oh,
yeah, there's a picture that shows.
sorry about that.
Yep, sorry, I should have
That's
mentioned.
okay. I-
could turn
So
it.
you're just talking about this?
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
good.
and at the side, you can see there's some weeds there. I think that's,
But
you know.
that looks like it's some
That looks
level
like-
of a CRP buffer, or part of a government program to allow it. So you can't mow it technically till after August, are the requirements. And you're limited on spraying it to kill the weeds even, so.
I'd say unless they want to be more specific about why it's an issue and they want to come back and complain, I would say, leave it alone. That's just me.
I'm with you.
So
Yeah.
we'll just pass on that you've opted not to cite it as it's part of a farm property, not a residential property.
Yeah.
And if the complainant has an issue with that, she's welcome to come get on the agenda and explain how or why it's unique and different from other
Yep.
situations involving farms.
Perfect.
I think that's all I have for you, unless you have anything for me this morning.
I do
Oh,
not.
man.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Next up, we have Rick Campbell with a highway update. See, we have our former superintendent, Kevin Myers, back here. Do you want to join him for, just to remember how it was? No? Okay.
Morning.
Morning, Rick.
2 weeks ago, we did a scoring for Bridge 115, and Brother Fireman and Cipher got the scoring. We have to wait on NDOT's approval. Bridge number 67 have started demo on that bridge already, and it should have a new bridge in 1st of November. Bridge 55, we did the letting for Bridge 55 last week, and Duncan Robertson got that bridge. It came in at 1.2. It was projected to be 1.7, so that's pretty good.
Very good.
I assume as soon as they're done with Bridge 67, they'll just move on down to Bridge 55, since they're the ones doing 67.
Okay.
So, and also, our pug that we want to make, they're not going to come until next week and make our pug. And I also found out that our Kelly Road project, they're not going to come until September now to do our Kelly Road project. Evidently, they're a little short-handed and they're spread too thin right now, and they got to get some things done so they can get some guys back together and get some guys in trucks. And we've got some roads, 28 miles of roads that are striped and need to be restriped. And I'd like to use some of my wheel tax money that we've got from the state so far this year. I've got up to 500,000 so far this year in wheel tax, and I'd like to ask the council next month to have some of that money to stripe these roads. I figure it's going to take about, just off the top of my head, it's going to take about 112,000 to stripe the roads.
To do all 28 miles? To do all 28 miles?
Do 28 miles. We've got 54 miles of striped road. So this isn't all of them. That's all I got.
Okay,
I don't have an issue with that at all. I'd say go ahead.
yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
touch base with the commissioners first.
okay.
That's all I got.
Do you have anything for him, John?
I do not.
I don't either. Thanks, Rick. Okay, we have no old business. We'll move on to new business. There's 2 items listed, but the one, it is not ready, so we will cross off the INTAC agreement. We'll just do the updated Title VI implementation plan. So this is what, if you recall, we received a letter from NDOT back in early spring that we were not in compliance to receive federal funds. Jerry, our ADA coordinator, has worked tirelessly over the last few months in trying to update this, and that's when we engaged Intact to help us because we were out of compliance. And so this is the updated implementation plan for us to adopt today. And one note that I have here is that it will be placed on the website. So everyone will have the luxury to read it and follow through with it. So, do you have any questions?
I do not, no.
Anything else I need to mention about it?
Thanks to Jerry for all her hard work.
Yes. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept it.
So moved.
All right, second. So we now have a new Title VI implementation plan. Two places.
I think there's another place for you to sign.
Okay. Okay, next up is department heads. Do we have any department heads that wish to speak? Morning, Stephen.
Couple things. First, I just wanted to report, currently we have a 100% pass rate on the National Registry from our EMT program that we taught. It lasted from November to the beginning of May. So we had 13 students graduate the program, 11 have tested, and 11 have passed. So we're really excited and proud of those that have passed. And with that, we've already hired one, and we have a few more that have applied, so we're looking to add to our ranks. So excited for that. Now I got to ask a favor. So the current chase vehicle is 10 years old, and it's kind of been in a little bit of rough shape since I got it. So starting to look into the 24 budget season, I had put it in as a request, and the number I was getting was $54,000 roughly just for the vehicle, then $12,000 to $14,000 to outfit it. But I was told I can't get a strong number until September. We're still expected prices to kind of increase past that, so we're not really sure where I was going to fall. Well, I ended up speaking with Kelly Chevrolet, who had the state bid this last year, and they have one Chevy left, and it is for $42,000. So $12,000 in savings off what I'm being told for next year. So the proposal that I have is to do a transfer of appropriations from our 100 line item of group insurance, where we have an excess there, and move it to a 400 line item, which will of course require the council approval as well. But because it's a vehicle, I'm requesting it from you guys as well.
Okay. Josh, you have it?
I don't have an opinion on it. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it. I mean, if it's gonna save the $12,000, then might as
Yeah.
well do it now versus later if it's needed, and it sounds like it's needed.
Okay.
So, okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
Okay.
Are you fully staffed?
Yeah, we are fully staffed. Yep. So, yeah, 12 paramedics, 12 EMTs. We've got one medic on orientation right now. He'll finish 1st of September, as long as everything goes well, and then we'll be fully staffed for the rest
Awesome.
of the year.
Good news.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Any other? Rodney?
Oh, man.
Come to follow up with our insurance contract that we had left with you. I didn't know where you were with that. I need to
I
kind of
think
keep.
we emailed back and forth, and Tom and I both had the same thing. The only thing that we were concerned about was that the companies from Georgia, if there was a dispute, it had to take place in Erie, New York,
Right.
and we thought that should be in Indiana. And ideally, we would never have that, but just in case, we'd like to have the protection. So that's the only thing that I saw in there. Is it seemed like they were making us jump through a lot of hoops legally if there ever was an issue. So I don't know if you can talk to them and see if they'd be willing.
I would say that's probably their standard contract. Obviously, I understand your concern. It's the same company I think we're still doing our accounting software with, Harris. So I don't know what your contract said when you signed it for that, but I know we have very few options as far as our ability to find, carriers. We've checked with Acumed several times before, and We just have such a small amount of business, but I'm willing to send them an email. I'm expectant that they're going to say that that's their standard contract on that, so,
I think we should ask,
okay,
and just see.
sure.
And then if not, we'll have to do what we have to do
I'll
to
see
get
if
you
there's
up and
So
running.
you're wanting them to say that the action, any court actions would have to be in Indiana?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that was, what, mediation or
Yeah, it was
mediation?
mediation.
They wanted to mediate in New York, which
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense for any party, in my
No.
opinion. That's
Yeah.
just, so.
I don't know why, yeah.
I don't know why
Typically,
it's in there.
typically, we don't get into reading those parts, because as you say, we expect that hopefully we're gonna have good.
that would be the
business with them.
expectation,
Yeah,
but you just never know.
But
so.
I'll be more than glad to call them today.
Yeah.
And see if there's a way, I know we're getting that period where we have claims that
Okay.
we're not billing anyone right now, in
Gotcha.
other words, so, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're unable, hopefully
Sure.
they're not watching and hear this, but if we're unable, then
They could
do what we have to do.
Yeah,
But
okay, so I'll follow up and then let you gentlemen know what they do say about it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, I'll bring this up for Sean since the sheriff's not here. He had sent over, I think, to all the commissioners and council some requests for some work done at the jail. And it sounds like there was a special distribution of close to 190,000. This adds up to like roughly 142,000. So I'll open it up to Josh. I'm okay moving forward with
Yeah.
doing this work. The only thing that we would maybe have is just make sure they get you the liability insurance and then a copy of their registration with the state before they start the work. And if they can turn that in, I support moving forward with the proposals that are here. So.
Same here.
Yeah, and just have them turn it into Jerry, those two documents, please. So, any other department heads? None? Okay. Commissioner reports.
I have nothing.
I think we've covered most of the stuff that I had as well. So we will move forward to our claims. Okay, we have claims dated July 14th in the amount of $29,285.78. Biweekly claims dated July 17th in the amount of $504,497.28. And court claims dated July 17th in an amount of $8,822.99.
Motion to approve.
Motion carries 2-0 to approve the claims. Next, we have payroll. From June 30th in the amount of $512,606.55.
Motion to approve payroll.
Second. And lastly, we have our minutes from our regular meeting on July 3rd.
Motion to approve minutes.
Okay, motion carries 2-0 on the minutes. Our next meeting will be on August 7th, and I would like to make an announcement. We'll send out a kind of a letter for this. We're going to have our HR meeting with all of the elected officials and department heads at 11 a.m. So we've been working for really 2 years on redoing the handbook, but particularly with our new company, the last 6 months, I think we're at the point where we can roll that out. So I'm not going to say it's mandatory because we can't make it mandatory to other elected officials, but I would advise you to be here so that you get an update on some of the changes that have happened with it, so you're aware of those. So we'll send something out that's, like I said, the 7th, August 7th at 11 a.m. Obviously, all the counselors will be invited as well. Stephen?
Can we get a rough draft sent to us ahead of time or no?
We're just going to roll it out that day.
Sounds good.
Okay. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Thanks. Not too bad.